Gentlemen, this is Carlos Phoenix with The Lounge Magazine, and today we have a special treat. We are inside of Blindfold Productions, and inside this awesome recording studio with Johnny and
Craig.
I am so sorry. All right. I understand this is a brand new studio. You guys have been working together for a little while. Let's get some background from you guys and find out about how you guys started together, and then how the studio came to be.
It's an interesting culmination of events that really brought all of this into place. You know, he and I first met about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And like any musician or engineer or artist, you know, there was kind of that. We just kind of bumped into each other, started talking audio, started talking gear, kind of figuring out which direction either one was coming from on their artistic views, and I think we really hit it off, you know, just right off the bat. And it was interesting to see, like, a lot of the concepts and a lot of the things that I talk about all the time, somebody else was mirroring them, you know, without even knowing this person, without even speaking with them. You know, we had the same outlook and same on-site with a lot of things, so it kind of helped pick the process up.
Because there's just so many people have viewpoints on how things should be, and me and him have just kind of meshed, like, oh, this is how I think records should sound, this is how I think we should work with bands and stuff, and it just kind of was like, oh, this is a good
It was a good pairing of intellect as far as...
That's the word I was looking for. Pairing. Adjectives fail me.
Super duo.
Did you guys know each other from school, or live close to each other, or something like that, or how'd you guys meet?
There's a small, I wouldn't say super small, but there's a pretty tight-knit community of people, you know, underground community of people that are in the music and the recording, you know, industry here in Atlanta. One way or another, it's kind of like, you know, the Kevin Bacon thing. Everybody's related to Kevin Bacon somehow, you know. Everybody in our little group knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and it was just a matter of time. Through some mutual friends, we just started rubbing elbows more and more, like working on different things and seeing different things pop up, and, you know, kind of bouncing off of each other. So
yeah, so it was like I produced records for a bunch of different bands, and like they kept on, like, his name kept on coming up, he kept on hearing these records and going, oh, this band's really good, and then who did that, then my name kept popping up, and eventually we just kind of collided, and it was like, oh, I've heard of you.
Right. So give me some background in terms of your specific careers, like, so you've done some music with a few groups.
Yeah.
Can you name a few?
Well, I do live sound and festival production. I basically go out to these festivals. I do a bunch of country festivals. I do a stage at Lollapalooza, work with an audio company, and I do live sound for a living. I tour. Right now I'm touring with a band called Rat-a-Tat, doing shows and tours and doing a couple festival dates with them. And so I have a background in live audio and live sound and mixing in front of anywhere from 100 to a few 10,000 people. And so it's kind of cool taking, like, all the tricks I learned in live sound and bringing them to the studio, and, like, trying to capture a band live, because that's what I'm used to. I'm used to having a full band playing and mixing on the fly. Mm-hmm. And bringing that sort of, trying to capture that same feel, that same energy I get from live sound, and seeing these bands perform for tons of people, trying to get that same energy in a room where they're performing for me and a tape machine.
And the ability to be able to add on top of that things that you can't do live, but to kind of still give it that live vibe is one thing I've noticed that he's big about. You know, just the layering we were talking earlier about, all those different instruments that you see over there. You know, we use every single one of them, plus every amp we got in the room back there, on one song or one guitar part, you know. And that's something you can't really do in a live setting, but I'm sure for him, you know, being there, hearing these bands live and mixing it on the fly, it's just like, man, if only I could add this to it. And that's kind of what the production standpoint here has been. You know, we want to take that live element, we want to take that raw, just talent, and then harness it and be able to take other elements that you can't do live and kind of bring it together to give it still that live feel, but a little bit of a studio embellishment to whatever they're doing.
And he is but you have a background in radio and stuff like that.
Yeah, broadcast primarily. Started really young, just playing guitar and, you know, getting into music like most kids do, you know. And everybody else was, you know, watching baseball games or, you know, outside throwing around football. I was inside listening to the radio, waiting for my favorite song to come on so I could hit the record button on the AM FM recorder that I had. Or one of my favorite hobbies used to be to line up all the, and I can't even listen to it now, but I had the entire Nirvana library, the entire thing, and I would break out, you know, all my tapes and break out, you know, who did what on each track and read all the lyrics. And that was a typical, you know, like, not all day, but like a Saturday for me. You know, when I wasn't in school, I was learning about what they were doing live and watching their videos or listening to their music and analyzing it, you know. But eventually got into broadcast because I wanted to be closer to music, and I realized probably wasn't going to be any kind of musician, you know, that was going to go out and do anything, but I still had the love for it, even if I didn't have the talent to be, you know, in a band or be in a group. I still had the love for it, and it started to flourish into other things, you know. I started playing drums and playing guitar and bass and, you know, just getting my hands on keys and synths and all kinds of stuff. And eventually it was just like, you know, one day I'm just going to record everything that I like and do it myself, and that's when I found out I really love recording and producing, and I was working in radio at the same time. Originally as like a talk show host or whatever, but I started doing commercial production. And I remember one day I'm sitting at this backwoods radio station in like northern Mobile, Alabama, and I just finished doing this commercial, and I just edited to crap, you know. I mean, it was beautiful, gorgeous sounding, all polished, and I was looking at it and I was like, I know what I clicked on and I know why I did that, but I don't know what it means. Like, what are the physics of what I'm actually doing? And I literally picked up about 6 months later and left and went back to college to get a degree in audio physics and engineering. And since then kind of been bouncing around in town in Atlanta, just bouncing off of different people doing different things, some festivals here and there, some radio stuff, some mixing, you know, recording, whatever. Just kind of getting my feet wet again in the Atlanta industry, because that's really where my heart is and where I believe there's, you know, some kind of scene that we can be a part of. As much as I hate that word, but...
Now you have a pretty nice room behind you guys, and it's different than some of the recording studios I've been to, where they have a small room or a sound box, and someone's just kind of either rhyming or singing into a mic in a particular room. That's a pretty big room. Explain to me why the difference there.
Well, my whole thing is, it's like, it comes down to, like, when I'm producing a record, from the minute I hear a band, like, I know exactly what I want it to sound like. And, like, if the music makes me want to just, like, turn it up until I blow my speakers, or make me drive fast and get pulled over, or just makes me want to just punch someone, like, that's a project I want to work on. I want to work on music that, like, makes me excited to work on it. And the whole thing is, like, so many records these days are done where everyone goes in, plays their part, and leaves. And then an engineer sits there with a computer and, like, just destroys it. I like having a big room like that, where it's 40 feet by 20 feet and it's just huge sounding, and it just makes everything sound larger than life. And you put a band in there and they play together, they play live as if they're playing a show, and then you just add little things here and there and make them sound larger than life. So the band still sounds, on the record, they still sound like themselves, but it's just a bigger, fuller, over the top kind of representation of what they are. And it's embellish is a great word. In a room like that, just having the huge sound, have the reverb, and get that huge 80s rock sound.
Yeah, without making it artificial,
right,
I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of where we both agree on something. You know, with computers and technology, and as much as I love it, and as wonderful as all that stuff has, you know, and how much it's kind of revolutionized the way that people even listen to music, let alone the way people make music. I think that a big part of what making music is really about kind of got lost somewhere in the translation of making a record these days. You know, some of the albums that I hear from some of my friends that they're releasing, they're so clean and pristine and tight, and every element is just so super polished and almost artificial sounding. And that's not something I think music was meant to really be. I listen back to some of the old, you know, Zeppelin tracks, or, you know, to be cliche, whatever, Smashing Pumpkins or something like that, where the music would breathe, it would get louder, you know, and it would crunch, or it would hit, or it'd pull itself back and it'd make you want to tear up or something like that. You know, you could feel the energy. And having a room like that where people can sit down and perform and really just vibe out, you know, just clash off of each other's energy and let the music kind of encompass all that, you know. It really captures the vibe of what I think music should really be about, and not that sit in a room, play your part, all right, you got to go, next guy, you know. It takes away from the experience of it.
It becomes too sterile. And I feel a lot of people rely too much on sort of the computer and the processing in the computer to make up for the realness.
Yeah, we'll fix it in post, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like, oh, we'll use a pedal for the reverb. Well, we've got a huge hall out here that sounds like space. Then put a mic out there, throw the guitar in there, not even put a mic on there, just record the mic out in the hall, or put a mic out in the loading dock. All of a sudden, that's the the best sounding computer reverb ever, but it's actually the building.
That's the real physics. It's the audio. It's as real as it gets.
Record drums in the control room where it's super dead sounding, or record drums out there and it sounds awesome, or put a mic outside in the parking lot and
or
record
even on the window back there.
Yeah, take the mic to the window or whatever. Just capturing that sort of that realness and relying less on a computer or a producer to sit there and make everything perfect. Just play it right. And if you mess up, if the vibe's cool, people make mistakes. I mean, a little mistake on the record just adds to the vibe, adds to the groove.
Now, so I mean, I love the whole realism of the sound, and because I know a few engineers and stuff, and a lot of it gets done digitally. You know, let's mimic the Madison Square Garden's echo and that type of stuff. So I respect you for that. It's pretty cool that it's something you guys think of, and of course you having a degree in that really just adds to the validity of what you're saying. Well, I have a couple of questions on a consumer side type of feel. Mm-hmm. So you guys are really focused on the sound, how acoustics bounce off walls and hallways affect sound and the big room affects sound. My question is, we live in a world where MP3 is like the way people listen to music. Mm-hmm. And we know, even though it's digital compressed sound, it's not replicating sound the way it was meant to be replicated. Mm-hmm. Does that bother you?
Yes.
Yes and no.
And how do you keep that in mind as you're recording a song to help improve it or outsmart it if you can?
I mean, for me personally, when I listen to something that's been converted and downsampled so many times to where, you know, it starts to lose its weight, that's whenever we go back to the whole music as its raw just form is meant to carry. You know, it's meant to convey an emotion, or it's meant to portray or tell a story, or whatever it is that it does. And if at its rawest, most disgusting, low fidelity sound, if it still conveys that message or paints that picture or embellishes that idea or concept, the quality I can live without, you know? I hate to hear it, because it's like, you know, experiencing, you know, a beautiful Van Gogh painting through a cell phone. You know, somebody takes a picture of their cell phone. Yeah,
that's a good analogy.
But at the same time, it's still beautiful, and you have to take it at face value. And if that's the way people choose to get their media, then more power to them. But personally, I'm going to be a snob about it, and I'm going to listen to higher fidelity stuff, because I like to hear those little nuances that you miss whenever something's completely stripped down like that.
I love the painting analogy, because I use that all the time. Mm-hmm. It's like, for example, when we're in here working with audio files, just all the raw files, and it's all higher than CD quality or higher than DVD quality audio, and it gets stemmed down and listened to on these little tiny earbuds, it's almost like, the thing is, once you record something, it's never going to sound like it does in the room. The snare drum, the drum kit, the guitars, they're never going to sound like they do in the room, so you're already taking a picture. So it's almost like taking a high-resolution picture and then taking a Polaroid. I mean, it's still, the composition's still going to be there. It's just the color might not be right, or the depth of field won't be there, but it's still a good song, regardless. I mean, the Beatles. I mean, listen, you put the Beatles next to the latest, like, the hit that just came out on the radio, and they sound totally different. The Beatles stuff might sound muddy, or might sound small, or tinny, or whatever, but there's a reason why those songs, even as poorly sound as they do, in comparison to modern music, it's still a good song, and that shines through. So I think
it's that vibe. It's totally catching that vibe. You know, catching the fundamental of the element of what it's about.
So I think I'm not as bothered by the whole MP3 thing as most engineers I know are. I mean, I'm just not a purist, but if it's a good song, I'm going to listen to it. If it's a bad song, no matter how high quality it is, I'm not going to want to listen to it. That's kind of sums it up for me.
Death Magnetic.
Okay, so let's say I am a musician or someone who we live in a YouTube world. Mm-hmm. So we have people who are out there just doing video upon video upon video of them singing into a webcam microphone, and once in a very blue moon, you'll hear somebody get discovered. Now, for those who don't get discovered, the next step is, well, I got to get my song recorded. So they look for guys like you. And what do you say? Like, how do you prepare them for the mentality of a totally different environment while they're doing webcam videos and playing on a little keyboard that they probably bought somewhere? How do you what do you say to them to say, well, before you come in here, this is what you need to know so we're not wasting time.
Right.
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff do you say?
I mean, first and foremost, and this is something that we tell anybody who comes in here, know your stuff. The better you are and the more well-rehearsed you are at what you do on your end, whether it's whatever you sing or whatever you play or whatever it is that we're trying to capture that day, the better you know that, everything else, kind of don't worry about it. Just do you. When you get in here, focus on what you're doing. We'll worry about everything else, And it's not designed for us. We're here to do this because this is what we do. We're not here to necessarily teach the world how to do it themselves or try to explain it. There's an art and a creativity and a little bit of a magic behind it that we try to capture. So if you just do you're just on top of what you're doing, we'll take care of it.
And that's the thing, is we're trying to create a very comfortable, intimate environment where it's a lot of people that are used to like recording their living room or their bedroom. They can come here, and I mean, you can see this room that we're in right now. It might look big on camera, but it's actually pretty small, and it's kind of nice because it's intimate. Like, we have the huge sounding room and a pretty big facility, but the actual like creative zone and where all the brain power happens, that's nice, small. We got couches, we've got mood lighting, and it's very intimate. And it kind of, a lot of artists that have come through here, they've sat down like, this is like playing in my living room. And so it's kind of allows them to kind of transfer that creative vibe from their bedroom into our facility.
You got the room to record it, but the place to vibe out in. When you're sitting here and you're on the couch, or even if commonly, we'll have one artist or one member of the band in here hammering out one of their parts, going over it till they get it right, that sort of thing, because it's one of those things we want to make sure the product is right. And the rest of them will be in the back, in the lounge playing video games, if they're on Nintendo or Super Nintendo or 64 or whatever, Then you hear the faint laughter, coming out of the back, which isn't bleeding into the recordings in any way, shape, or form, but it's just that homely kind of comfortable environment that, again, it reinforces that creativity. And that's the only thing I can say for people that are coming in, trying to wrap their head around what we do. Just worry about you.
Okay. Now, lastly, what do you want to tell people about your studio?
Oh man, we could write a book on it.
There's a lot of stuff.
The one thing that I want people to understand the most is that this isn't in any way, shape, or form us trying to be something we're not. At the root of it all, this is who we are, and this is what we do. This is what we love. And anybody that walks through those doors, they're going to feel that. There's an aura, there's an essence, there's kind of a vibe that happens here. And I use that word a lot, but it's hard not to in a room like this. And it's hard not to with, he and I. This is all that's ever mattered to us. So we're not fumbling around in the dark trying to get rich. We're doing this because we love it. And if you love what you do, you're truly in love with your music, or you're truly in love with whatever it is that your portion of, musicianship contributes to your whole group. If you love it, you'll feel that we love what we do on our end, and it makes it that much easier for us to work together, because it's a bonding relationship. The whole time you're in here, you're going to feel that family vibe and a lot of love.
Yeah, it's kind of a place where bands can come and perform their art, and in a relaxed manner. We've got time to get it right, but at the same time, it's secluded, and using the word intimate again, it's a nice, intimate, artistic, creative, inspiring environment where there's not a lot of stress.
No. And we work fast. I mean, that's the thing. Since we've been doing this the way we've been doing it for as long as we've been doing it, it's not that we're, seasoned veterans. We're just comfortable with the stuff that we have here, to the point that we can work quickly without putting off that vibe of being rushed. If you got a project that you got a deadline on, okay, we'll knock it out, but you're not going to feel that strain or that pressure coming in here to record with us like oh man, we've got to get this done, or, we're going to do it quickly, we're going to do it right, but we're going to do it relaxed, and we're going to take care of you.
Yeah, you see, there's no clocks in here or anything. There's no sand hourglass thing
with pennies in it,
Okay. Well, One note I want to add to the audience is that Launch Magazine will be working with Blindfold Productions, and we're looking to put together a monthly episode, a show, and the basic idea is to basically showcase a band, a musician, a group, whatever style of music. And if you're very talented, we'd love to get your submissions. We'd like to, if you're in the Atlanta area, it makes it a little bit easier. Even if you're slightly outside of Atlanta, we are located very close to the metro Atlanta area. And I'm going to show you what the room looks like so that you get an idea of what that environment's going to be like. And we anticipate having a few episodes coming up where someone's going to be playing music. We're going to record the music. We're going to have it on the website, and you guys get to enjoy talent totally in a controlled environment. We'll have a small audience here, and we hope it's something that you guys will enjoy. But in the meantime, thank you very much, guys. It's great hearing your thoughts about your recording studio. It's great that you guys have been able to put your heads together and put something together that's going to be great for the music industry. And we hope people will not only watch this episode but learn a lot from you, as well as come to use your facility.
We hope so.
So we're going to show you some of the areas of the facility and see if your band and people that may be interested in using this facility. Thanks again. This is Carlos with the Lounge Magazine. This show has been sponsored by The Art of Tees. And I'm going to put the logo over here, but I'll probably just cut this and just add the ad later. But The Art of Tees is a custom t-shirt printing company, and they'll be doing a lot of products that you guys can design. Just log into the website, theartoftees.com, and that's it. That's a wrap. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.